Hello, beautiful mama, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm so excited that you're here with me today because we're going over a whole episode about breastfeeding because I've noticed this is an aspect of motherhood that can be easily overlooked. There are so many moms that focus a lot of their energy on preparing for the birth itself, but they don't spend a ton of time thinking about the breastfeeding journey that follows. So it's like planning for your wedding day, but not for your actual marriage. So today, I want to share with you some encouragement and practical information about this incredible journey, and I hope it really blesses you. But before we dive in, I do want to share something that's been on my heart because I think breastfeeding can stir up some feelings for many of us. I'm going to be talking today about the benefits of breastfeeding and how to set yourself up for success. And I share this information to benefit you as you're making this decision for your family. But I want to say, if you did not breastfeed your baby, whether that was your choice or that was just the way things worked out and that really saddened you, there is so much grace in that. And although I've had the honor to be able to exclusively breastfeed my two babies, I know that is not possible or even preferred by many moms. I want to share this information so that you can know and pray about where the Lord is leading you and your family to decide how you're going to feed your precious baby. And every family's situation is different, and what matters most is that your baby is fed, that this baby is loved and cared for, and that you have a peace about the decisions you're making for your family. So whether you're currently pregnant and thinking about breastfeeding, you're a new mama just starting out, maybe you've already started this breastfeeding journey, or maybe you've breastfed previously or you weren't able to breastfeed previously and that's what you're hoping to do this time, you're in the right place. So I just wanted to share with you some of the amazing benefits of breastfeeding. We're going to talk about some of the ways you can set yourself up for success. And then I'm also going to just give you some incredible resources that have helped so many of the families that I've worked with. So let's dive into this beautiful topic together. So we'll start by talking about just how remarkable breastfeeding truly is. When I share these benefits, which again, this is not every single benefit known to man for the benefits of breastfeeding, but just some of them that I really think are incredible to highlight, I am just amazed by God's incredible design of our bodies and how he designed the breastfeeding process. It's just so beautiful how it perfectly works together. So first, we're going to talk about the benefits to your baby. So your breast milk is liquid gold. You may have heard it called that, and it's packed with antibodies, and this gives your little one passive immunity against infections, and that looks like a 36 to 50% reduction in ear infections, respiratory infections, and things like stomach bugs. And then there's also research that shows many benefits, up to 50% lower risk of SIDS, which is sudden infant death syndrome. And I remember, especially with Ellie, my first, feeling very paranoid about SIDS, but just to know that breastfeeding significantly lowered that did make me have just more peace of mind. And then the nutritional side is absolutely incredible too. Your breast milk changes throughout the day. As your baby grows, it starts to change so it can meet their exact needs. And it's just perfectly designed with the correct amount of proteins, fats, and all the just various different aspects of the milk is just perfectly formulated for your individual baby or babies. Plus, it sets up their gut for the right bacteria for lifelong health. So it's not only just, obviously short-term, they're less sick and all these things, but long-term health benefits. The DHA and other nutrients that are in breast milk are building your baby's brain and helping their eyes develop perfectly. And then here's something that really gets me excited too, again, talking about long-term benefits. But babies who are breastfed have 15 to 30% lower rates of childhood obesity. They're less likely to develop things like diabetes. And there's even research showing reduced rates of childhood leukemia. So some of these studies have found enhanced cognitive development too. And again, it's just amazing how this one choice can impact your child's entire lifelong health. So now we're going to hop into some of the benefits for mama. Because breastfeeding isn't just good for baby, it's also really fantastic for you too. right after birth, the oxytocin release that happens when your breasts, your nipples are stimulated, helps your uterus contract so it can go back down to its pre-pregnancy size faster. And what this means for you is that you bleed less and you heal much faster. And yes, you also burn a ton of calories, 300 to 500 calories on average a day, just simply breastfeeding. And that can certainly help with just gradual, healthy weight loss after you've had the baby. And then the long-term benefits to you are also remarkable. For every 12 months that you breastfeed, you reduce your breast cancer risk by 4.3%. And you also have a 30% lower risk of ovarian cancer. Your bones become stronger in the long run, despite the temporary calcium your body uses for milk production. It's all a way to just, again, invest in your long-term health as well. And then there's also emotional benefits. So all the hormones, the oxytocin, the prolactin, these are not only helping with milk production, but they're also promoting bonding between you and your baby. These are also going to help you feel more relaxed. And then research even shows that it can even help reduce the risk of experiencing postpartum depression and anxiety. And then I know some of you are thinking about the practical side too of going the breastfeeding route. So let's talk about the benefits financially. And so they're pretty amazing. Most families save between $1,500 and $4,000 a year on not having to buy formula. And beyond that, breastfeeding babies are also healthier, which means you're spending less time at the doctor for other healthcare costs, plus time off work to care for your sick baby. And then from a convenience standpoint, breast milk is always ready and available. It's the right temperature. You don't have to worry about it spoiling inside your breasts. Whether you're at home at 3 a.m. or you're traveling across the country, everything you need is right there. You don't have to mix formula. You don't have to sterilize bottles. You don't have to worry about contamination. And then for those of you who care more, about the environmental impact, breastfeeding is the ultimate sustainable feeding choice in regards to there's no packaging waste, there's no manufacturing carbon footprint, and it's completely renewable. And I had a mom that I worked with last year who was so worried about whether or not she could breastfeed successfully. And she had tried with her first, but really struggled with supply issues and just felt like she had failed. So this time we worked together during her pregnancy. She took my childbirth ed class, and when her second was born, she was so much more prepared. And she texted me at 6 months saying, I finally understand what it means to enjoy this breastfeeding experience. And she just feels so much more connected to her baby, and she was sad to think about weaning. And that's the kind of transformation that I hope and pray for you, that you would enjoy this breastfeeding experience, this journey. That, yes, it is certainly challenging at times. There were so many times, especially with Ellie's breastfeeding journey, I just wanted to give up. I was concerned about my supply, even though I really didn't have any cause for that. I just was like comparing myself to other people and whatever, and like things on Instagram, people pumping copious amounts, and I could never do something like that. It just really got in my head, but that there is such a joy in it. But I think it comes with preparing yourself to be successful. For most of us, it does not come so naturally where it just happens without any effort. Like there is effort to it. It's a skill that you're learning. So this brings up something I'm really passionate about, which is preparation. Just like you wouldn't run a marathon without training, breastfeeding success really starts with education before your baby is even here. So I see so many moms who think breastfeeding will come naturally because, yes, it is a natural process. We might have that natural desire, but the technique needs to be learned. And there are key things that every expecting mom should understand, and that's how to achieve a proper latch, what that looks like, what that feels like, different positions, different, ways you can hold the baby while nursing. And then, just understanding how supply and demand works, understanding a little bit more of the science behind that, because your body truly does know what to do. It knows how to make the milk. But if you're not sure, how to nurse frequently enough and things like that, your supply will just not be able to keep up with your baby's demand and what they need. The other thing is good to know about things like growth spurts and cluster feeding. I cannot tell you how many frantic moms are texting me saying, my baby just wants to nurse all the time. I don't think I have enough milk. And, it's really simple. Sometimes babies just go through these stretches where all they want to do is nurse all day long. And you're like, something is wrong with me. Something's wrong with my body. Something's wrong with my baby. But this is a perfectly normal process. And just having that word of encouragement that like, this is normal, everything's okay, it can change the game for you because knowledge is power, mama, and it gives you so much confidence to step into this season and this journey, not in fear. And then this is some of the things that I like to also teach in my online childbirth ed class. I just see the benefits of knowing what to expect, what's normal, how to troubleshoot common issues, so that you're just more likely to have a positive experience. And then having that information in pregnancy allows you to really absorb it, to ask questions, and then you're not overwhelmed when you're trying to learn this with your newborn and you're sleep deprived and you're already overwhelmed and you just are like, I can't take in any more information right now. So in my course, I like to cover understanding babies' hunger cues. So when to tell when they're hungry, how to latch your baby, knowing when to reach out for help. Because here's the thing, I want you to feel confident and prepared, not anxious and uncertain. And so some resources that I love to share, there's a book, it's called Breastfeeding Made Simple. I'll put that book in the show notes. But what I love about this book is that it's evidence-based. It's written by IBCLCs. These are women who are like gold standard of lactation consulting, but they don't overwhelm you with information. Everything's given very clearly. They break down just like the natural laws of breastfeeding in a way that makes sense. It addresses those common concerns that I've been hinting at. And then the best part too is if you're not able to sit and actually read the book, it comes in audiobook format as well. That was always a lifesaver for me because I'm like a big podcast audiobook listener. And if I'm in the car or even whenever I was nursing, I remember I was nursing Ellie and listening to breastfeeding books as I was nursing her in the middle of the night, both to keep me up, but also to just learn some tips and tricks because there's so much to learn about breastfeeding. But yeah, so you can multitask, absorb that information. And then beyond books, cannot stress enough the importance of having lactation consulting support. So most hospitals will have a lactation consultant there to help you while you're in the hospital. Sometimes their hours are a little weird, so depending on the time you deliver, you may or may not be able to see her, but definitely seek out that support. But then you can also hire a lactation consultant, once you're home. And I do have some recommendations here locally, but definitely look into lactation consultants in your area. Go on Facebook and like mom groups, ask around about lactation consultants. Look up with your insurance because it most of the time they do cover lactation consultants to a degree. Talk with friends and family who they might have used. And then there's another resource, La Leche League. This is a group that has been around for a really long time. And they even have like in-person support groups. They also have online support groups. And that's a great way to just also be in community, literally with other women that are in the same stage of life as you. And then, this kind of brings me to wanting to highlight the benefits of doula support for breastfeeding success. Obviously, I'm a doula, so I'm a little partial to this. So many people think that doulas are just for birth, but we really go beyond that, supporting you through those first 6 weeks or so. So I remember I had one mom who she had a beautiful birth experience, but when she got to that first breastfeeding session, the baby just did not want to latch. And instead of it being that magical moment, that golden hour that she had imagined, she was really frustrated because the baby was not latching, baby was getting more frustrated. But then having someone there to just, give some tips and tricks or just say, hey, this is okay, this is normal. Or even, let's just give it a break. Let's just do some skin to skin. Let's all just have a breather and kind of calm down. That makes all the difference when you're going through that experience. And so as a doula and doulas, we are there to help in that immediate postpartum time with positioning, watching out for signs of a good latch or a not so good latch, and just giving you some like tips and tricks and just helping you troubleshoot so that things can go as smoothly as possible. We can also help you notice when there are potential issues earlier on so that they don't become these huge, massive problems that are much harder to overcome later. And then beyond like that technical support, there's so much value in just having somebody who's in your corner, who believes in you, who believes in your body's ability to do this whole thing. And then in those moments when you're just tired and doubting yourself, it can mean the world to just have someone say, "You're doing great. I know this is hard work. Let's maybe make this small adjustment." And that encouragement can just change everything for you. Research also consistently shows that moms who have doula support have higher rates of breastfeeding success, and they tend to breastfeed for longer. So when we doulas help connect you with lactation consulting, that's going to be like the ultimate wraparound support. Of course, doulas are going to be there for the typical issues and struggles and challenges. But if you start to notice you're having a lot more challenges, there's just some other things at play with you or baby, having that lactation consultant brought into the fold can just go such a long way if your goal is to breastfeed your baby for, as long as you can. Support is everything. And, I say it all the time, we were not meant to do this alone. And breastfeeding is certainly no exception. I think it really does take a village for women to breastfeed confidently and meet their breastfeeding goals. I remember, again, with Ellie, my first, there were a couple times where I almost completely gave up because my confidence was so deflated. There was not anything physically indicating that Ellie was like not thriving with the breast milk or anything, but I had just gotten into my head too much about doubting myself. And my mom and my sisters, who all breastfed their babies, were such an encouragement to me and just kept me going. And I'm so glad I didn't listen to the fear that I was experiencing in my heart and my mind. And I really leaned on their wisdom and their encouragement to really bring me through the other side. So that was such a blessing to me. And I hope you also have those people in your corner, whether that's a doula, whether that's a lactation consultant, a friend, your mom, your sisters, whoever. It's really important to have that support system in place. And so as we wrap up today's episode, I would love to leave you with a little bit more encouragement. Just understand, learning the skill of breastfeeding is a learning curve. And just like learning any new skill, it will take time for you and your baby to figure this out. And there's no such thing as breastfeeding failure. There's just different journeys. So fight against that feeling and that need to want to compare your breastfeeding journey up against someone else's. And again, do not struggle in silence. If you're having challenges, the worst thing you can do is just try to brush it under the rug and hope it's going to go away. Seek help as soon as you're noticing issues, because time is of the essence. Like the sooner you can get that support, the less issue you're going to have and the less intense it will be as you let things, just get out of control. For example, if when baby latches, it's really uncomfortable, it's likely because they had a latch or two that was really uncomfortable and they damaged the nipples. Okay, but there are so many practical things we can do to help heal that nipple so that every time you nurse, you're not just like, it's curling your toes and it's so painful. So just learning those little tips and tricks can go such a long way. And then also you get to enjoy it so much more. And then also just make sure that you're doing that preparation ahead of time. Breastfeeding Made Simple, please check out that book or audiobook. It's so important to just lay that foundation educationally. And then I also would encourage you to look into taking my online childbirth ed class, which includes, covering the basics of breastfeeding. And then if you're looking for personalized support, I would also love for you to reach out to me for virtual birth support and just see how I can possibly serve you and your family. So now I want to leave you with this beautiful reminder from Scripture, and this comes from Isaiah 49:15, and it says, "Can a mother forget the baby at her breast and have no compassion on the child she has born? Though she may forget, I will not forget you." And I love this verse because it captures the profound bond that happens between a nursing mama and her baby. And that connection is so deep and so instinctive that God uses it to describe His unfailing love for us. My pastor recently shared how this beautiful word picture for the Hebrew word chesed, and it's often translated as steadfast love, And it's been understood to carry this like imagery of a mom who, when she hears her baby cry, her milk lets down and it starts to flow. And, just as a mom's body responds immediately and instinctively to her child's needs, God's steadfast love responds to us with that same immediacy and faithfulness. And that is just so beautiful to me. Like, that the Lord really has just designed this process to just show another facet of his love and his faithfulness for us as his children. So now I'd love to just close us out in prayer and just, leave you with this final encouragement. Dear Jesus, we just thank you for the incredible design that you have created for motherhood and the gift of being able to breastfeed and nourish our babies with our own bodies. I just pray for the mama who's listening right now, whether she's pregnant and preparing for this or she is in the midst of her breastfeeding journey. I pray that you would just give her confidence in your design and just patience for herself as she's learning this process. And then, Lord, just give her the wisdom to seek out when she might need help. I pray, Lord, that you would just surround her with supportive, encouraging people that can just uplift her and help her to see that this breastfeeding journey is a hard-won battle, but it is not a burden and it is not something that she needs to be perfect at. But Lord, just help her to see that it's an expression of your love working through her, and that when those challenges do come, because they will, remind her that she is fearfully and wonderfully made and that you have equipped her for this calling. I just pray, Lord, that you would bless her and her baby and that bond that they're creating through breastfeeding. And I just pray that those feeding moments that they get are just times of connection and peace and joy. And Lord, that you would just ultimately let her know how deeply you love and care for her as she's seeing it through her eyes as a mother towards her child. We just love you, Jesus, and we thank you so much for just the way you love us. It's in your name I pray. Amen. So thank you so much for joining me today on this episode. And just to remind you again, however you choose to feed your baby, whether that's breastfeeding, formula feeding, or, a combination of both, what matters most is that you are providing your baby with love and nourishment and caring for them. And there's so much grace in this feeding journey. And I just pray that whatever path you choose, whatever the Lord has for you in this journey, that you would have confidence and peace with those decisions. And please share this episode with some other mamas that you think this would be an encouragement to, whether they're preparing or maybe in the midst of it. Just share this with them as well. And you can also find me on Instagram at Faith Over Fear Birth Doula and on my website, faithoverfearbirth.com. And I just love connecting with you all and just hearing your just words of encouragement, and just so excited to just champion you as you are going through this season. But until next time, Mama, remember that you're loved, you are equipped, and that you're doing such an amazing job. I will talk with you soon. Bye-bye for now. That's it for today on Faith Over Fear, the Christian Pregnancy and Birth podcast. I hope today's conversation encouraged your heart and equipped you to trust God more deeply in your pregnancy, birth, and motherhood journey. Hey, before you go, I want to gift you with a freebie. I've compiled some of my most popular resources inside the Christian Mama Birth Prep Library. It includes practical birth prep handouts, such as the labor positions cheat sheet, birth preferences checklist, and provider questions guide. You'll also get exclusive discounts and even a worship labor playlist to bring God's peace into your birth space. To get instant access, simply visit faithoverfearbirth.com or click the link in the episode show notes to sign up. You'll receive immediate access to these valuable resources created just for you. If today's episode blessed you, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with some other mamas who could use this encouragement. Your support helps more women find this podcast and embrace faith-filled birth and motherhood. Let's keep choosing faith over fear. Bye-bye for now.